All right, welcome back to the channel. Poor Pauli Mallignaggi crying up a storm because Deontay Wilder tried to get him fired from Showtime. He and I think he said Steve Farhood. And my response to that is, yeah, prove it. But if he did, yeah, man, you kind of deserved it. Let's talk about old Pauli Mallignaggi and Deontay Wilder beef in this video. All right. Welcome back to the channel. So yesterday there's this boxing article that came out. It's on Boxing Scene, and Pauli Mallignaggi was talking about a bunch of different things about Deontay Wilder, right? And as all things Pauli, cannot help but put his foot in his mouth. One word that he said in this thing was, "Yo, player." I can't believe Pauli Mallignaggi, dude. Look, man. Don't say yo player, okay? It makes everything after yo player just falls on deaf ears, okay? For me and other people of my ilk, people that are irritated by people trying to, you know, act as if, man, stop that, dog. Stop talking like that. Anyway, so let's talk about what caused Pauli Mallignaggi to say yo player. He in this interview, talked about how there were so many people, how Deontay Wilder tried to get him fired and Steve Farhood fired. I think Steve Farhood, it might be somebody else that he tried that Pauli Mallignaggi is accusing Deontay Wilder of trying to get fired. Now, I got to say accused because, you know, just because Pauli Mallignaggi said it doesn't make it true, right? Because there are people that keep running around saying Deontay Wilder used his mask as an excuse for losing to Tyson Fury. And the word is that Deontay Wilder never said it. Deontay Wilder never associated the helmet that he had on and the big heavy weight vest, that he never actually equated it. He actually never rested the blame for losing the fight on that headdress. That is something some commentator said and ran away with. So when guys like Pauli Mallignaggi and other people in the media start saying things, I'm going to remind myself that my first duty is to ask myself, is what he said actually true? And what supporting information does he have for it to be true? Now, I don't have anything other than Pauli Mallignaggi's words, okay? And Pauli Mallignaggi is more than inclined to embellish and throw little temper tantrums when he gets mad. Say, for example, Sean Porter beats him up in a fight and he accuses Sean Porter of being on steroids, okay? Or when I witness somebody who was, I think, man, I don't know, is he Conor McGregor's roadie? When I see Conor McGregor's roadie beat him up in a bare knuckles fight, gash his face, mess his face up. It's just my imagination that you got beat up and you lost that fight, Pauli. Embarrassing all of boxing, losing to a guy that probably isn't even a real MMA fighter in a boxing match. Bare knuckles boxing match, by the way. You can see the knuckles. You can see the fingers right below the knuckles. Anyway, Pauli Mallignaggi, I'm not going to take Pauli Mallignaggi at his word that this happened, but let's just say, for the sake of it, that it's true. And what I would say to that is, good. What do you expect? Why does Deontay Wilder have to like the fact that you micro criticize this dude in his victories? Okay? Criticizing him after a defeat is one thing. Criticize him during a victory is something else. And doing it incessantly, and without counterexample. Like, not a lot of, like, 5 insults, 10 insults for every one half-hearted compliment that you give him. But just say that you're telling the truth and say, hey, man, that's how I feel. I'm covering the fight. That's how I feel. Hey, I'm not gonna, that's what my job is to say what I feel. Okay, that's your job, to say what you feel. It's also Deontay Wilder's job to take care of Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder does not have to sit there. It does not have to knowingly sign with people that are going to rip at his reputation at every breath. Now, the thing that got me about Pauli and his little crybaby explanation was this. He acted, or at least his tone and the things that he said in the interview would have led me to believe that he was actually saying all this stuff for the betterment of Deontay Wilder. That, because he said, yo, playa. He says his friends, Deontay Wilder's friends, are like, yo, playa, everything's all cool. Like implying that it's nobody around his Deontay Wilder was telling the truth. That he's got a bunch of hangers on that are not telling him the truth about, his deficiencies in the boxing ring, and right. So, okay, so say that's true, which I don't know if that's true or not. Again, Pauli Mallignaggi, yo playa, just pulling out something that he can't confirm himself. But let's just assume for a second that none of his friends, none of the trainers, none of the sparring partners, none of the people that work with him tell Deontay Wilder, what his flaws are. How are you doing it how is Pauli Mallignaggi doing it? Pauli Mallignaggi isn't in the ear of Deontay Wilder complaining, acting like he's lost every round in the last 5 years and talking down about him. And, he's not, and Steve Farhood was looking out for him when he said, hey, nobody wants to see these Dominic Breazeale fights. When are you going to fight this guy? Like, hold on. What do you mean? Nobody wants to see the Dominic Breazeale fight. Is that Jim Gray? It's not Steve Farhood. Maybe it was Jim Gray. Yay, Jim Gray. Why are you crapping on the fight that I just had, man? How about good fight, sensational knockdown? But anyway, there's no reason for Deontay Wilder to want to work for people that are going to insult him to the public. This is not something that Jim Gray said to Deontay Wilder behind closed doors. He didn't walk up to him and say, hey, I think we need to see a better fight for you next time. Hey, I said great fight and all that, and for the people, your fans that are watching. But I really feel as if we need to get a little bit better competition out here for you, right? That could be something that he would say if he was trying to do that to help Deontay Wilder. That, like Pauli Mallignaggi is implying that they're doing, they would just say that to Deontay Wilder. They wouldn't have to say it on camera when Deontay Wilder's not listening, right? At least in the case of Pauli Mallignaggi with his criticisms. Now, that's not saying that people shouldn't criticize fighters or say what they say, right? But I just find it funny though that Showtime really is the only one that is living up to that standard, right? Because I don't hear that in ESPN. I hear very little of that hypercritical conversation and examinations of fighters going on at ESPN. Shoot, ESPN will barely recognize if Vasily Lomachenko ever lost a fight, let alone sit up there and talk about, oh man, his eyes look like, I don't know about this Lomachenko guy. He did lose to Orlando Salido, and they don't do that. Excuse me. They don't do that with Vasily Lomachenko. When they talk about Vasily Lomachenko's losses, they talk about his strengths by and large, and then they might every once in a while acknowledge that somebody landed a punch on him, right? But even then, hey, he turned it around. He's this. They are extremely pro Vasily Lomachenko on ESPN. Okay, DAZN is extremely pro Canelo Alvarez on DAZN. What's wrong with the network like Showtime being pro the fighter that has shown the most loyalty to them? You know what I mean? So, but if you don't want to do that, you don't want to do it. At the same time, Deontay Wilder doesn't have to work with you. And let's review who the big winner and losers were of that scenario. Deontay Wilder if Deontay Wilder had tried to fire Pauli Mallignaggi, and it didn't work because Pauli Mallignaggi's still working there. From what I understand, that crew hasn't changed at all. Bernstein is there. Everybody's there. Same people are there. Only thing that left was that big Tyson Fury fight. That was the only fight that left. Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury left, it had claimed back fighting on Showtime cards, jumped up out of there, went over to ESPN. Deontay Wilder then was like, hey, you don't want to work with, if he did that, he took that next big fight to Fox. And matter of fact, I think he took 2 straight fights to Fox. And now, what are the level of fights that they're covering over there on Showtime? And you can't tell me that Showtime couldn't have put on the same pay-per-view that Deontay Wilder had with Fox and ESPN could have been on Showtime, because Showtime has put on much bigger shows than that show. So it could have happened. But hey, man, Pauli, I guess you got your revenge. And then he eventually lost to somebody that is probably the best heavyweight in the world. But it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.